So do you want to know more about ISO 45001 2018? Join us for this video and we're going to take you through Clause 4, the context of the organization. Watch this video for more information. Hi, and welcome to ISO 45001 in 45 minutes. We're going to go through the entire ISO 45001 2018 standard over the next 45 minutes in order to help you better understand the standard for your organization. In this first series, we're going to go through Clause 4, entitled Context of the Organization. The first clause in Clause 4 is Clause 4.1, entitled Understanding the Organization and its Context. Here you're required to identify internal and external issues which could affect the organization and its management system's ability to achieve the intended outcomes of the management system. Some of the internal issues that you could identify could be old infrastructure that requires costly maintenance or is unsafe, unskilled staff which could affect the performance of the management system, absenteeism or ill health which affects your resources and your capability to run the management system, a poor compliance culture, in other words, poor behavior on the site which doesn't lead to a positive compliance outcome. Good worker relationships could be a positive issue that you could leverage to increase the outcome of the management system. External issues. Social issues such as alcohol and drugs which could be used in the communities around your organization, and that's where you draw your workforce from, could obviously affect health and safety on your site. Financial recession obviously could affect your safety, health, environmental and quality budget. The competitive market could obviously influence your financial performance of your business and therefore your occupational health and safety budget. Also, access to new technology could be an opportunity for you to utilize to improve health and safety performance. Now remember, when we started this, we said we needed to identify internal and external issues which could influence your organization and its management system's ability to achieve the intended outcomes. Well, what are the intended outcomes? The intended outcomes are the prevention of injury and ill health, compliance, safe and healthy workplace, improved OSH performance, and the elimination of hazards and reduction of risks. Next is Clause 4.2, the needs and expectations of workers and interested parties. You need to define who are the interested parties and the workers. Now, the definition of a worker is not only your own employees. It could extend to employees, contractors, and suppliers as well. You also need to take into consideration visitors, shareholders, the regulator, local communities. Those would all fall under the category of interested parties and workers. So step 1 in Clause 4.2 is to identify who are your interested parties and workers. Step 2 of 4.2 is to define their needs and expectations. An example of that could be workplace health and safety compliance is obviously an interest of your workers, your contractors, your visitors, and your shareholders. And also preventing injury and ill health is a clearly defined need and expectation. Then once you've identified who the interested parties and the workers are, define their needs and expectations, you need to define if the needs and expectations will become compliance requirements. In other words, are you going to adopt them? In some cases, they may be legal requirements, which obviously you have to adopt, but other requirements, if the employees or workers came to you and said they wanted extra money for any health and safety task performed, that might be a need and expectation, but it's not something that you have to adopt within your organization. So that's an overview of Clause 4.2. Clause 4.3 is you need to define the scope of your OSH management system. After considering the issues identified in Clause 4.1 and 4.2, which is internal and external issues, your interested parties and workers and their needs and expectations, after considering those issues, you need to take into account current and future work. You then need to define your scope statement, as in what is the applicability of your management system? Is that going to be a geographic area? Is it going to include all of your organizations within a particular area within a country or around the world? An example of our scope statement is SRM is a SHEC consulting, auditing, training and software compliance company with branches in Durban, Johannesburg and Cape Town. So that ring fences the applicability of our system. This OSH management system will apply to all of our activities, products, services rendered by all three branches nationally and internationally. So there you can see, after we've considered our 4.1 and 4.2 requirements, we have then documented our scope statement, which is a requirement of clause 4.3. Then if we look at clause 4.4, we need to have a look at the interrelationship of processes, how your management system is going to interact with your business processes. So you need to establish, implement, maintain, and improve your OSH management system, including their processes and their interaction. So here's just a simple diagram of our value chain operations, such as consulting, training, auditing, and software, and how our integrated management system aligns with our value stream operations. So clause 4.4 is identifying your management system's interrelationship with your business processes and ensuring that it is established, implemented, maintained, and improved. So if we had to summarize all of that and you had to implement clause 4 within your organization, what would that look like? So clause 4, we would say that you could, if you wanted to, create a context manual or your policy manual, your OSH policy manual, and your clause 4 issues could be addressed in there, entitled the context of the organization. So that would be the procedure name. It could be your OSH manual or clause 4 context of the organization. Some of the inputs into the creation of that procedure could be a discovery register. If you're interested in that, go and have a look at our HIRA Series 2 vlog, which is available on YouTube, how to create a discovery register. Also, you're going to need an organogram. An organogram is going to be able to demonstrate how your organization is managed, the various different roles and responsibilities, and the resources that are created within your organization, specifically your human resources. So those are some of the inputs. The processes that should be defined in your procedure would be clause 4.1, the organization context, internal and external issues. You'll need to define how you're going to identify internal and external issues, and that could obviously go, an output from that could be your OSH organization context register, where you've defined what those internal and external issues are. You also need to identify the needs of workers, needs and expectations of workers and interested parties. Now again, as per clause 4.2, that could also be captured into your OSH context register as well. You'll need to document your scope as per what I showed you earlier, our documented scope. You'll need to document that in your OSH manual, your policy manual, if you're going to call it that. And then clause 4.4, the interrelationship of processes. There you could have an interrelationship of processes diagram like I showed you earlier. So there's a quick overview of clause 4 for ISO 45001-2018, and that's a wrap for this section of ISO 45001 in 45 minutes.